Hey, welcome to the Honey and Harry Show. I'm Honey.
And I'm Harry.
And today we have a guest. His name is Matt Kennedy. He used to work for WJBO. He works, where do you work for now?
So I work with Presley Wealth Management right now.
Okay.
Which is not WJBO. It's not even radio, as a matter of fact. It's totally different.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me. This is cool.
You like it?
You guys have an amazing setup.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, if my wife's watching, she should know that I'm going to be spending some money after the wedding to build myself an in-house studio.
Well, you can come help Harry anytime
Harry,
you want.
you can come help me build mine. This is amazing.
You can teach me and I'll help you.
Oh,
This is
gosh.
phenomenal.
Well, why don't you tell us how you kind of got your career started? Because I think people, I'm interested.
Right.
How did all that get started?
So people say, how in the world did you get into radio?
Yeah.
Right? How did you do that?
Yeah.
So
Because that's what I'm thinking.
it's Paul Harvey. It's the rest of the story. So my dad is a retired Baptist preacher. That explains a lot, doesn't it? There you go.
Okay.
What do they say about Harry's kids, about preachers' kids, Harry?
I don't remember the phrase, but I know there's a cliche that goes with it.
We're the best. Anyway,
Yes, yeah.
retired preacher's kid.
Okay.
So I grew up in Irwinville, Highway 190, out in West Baton Rouge Parish. My dad was the pastor of a small church. He also had a Christian school. I went to that school. But he decided in, I think it was 1984,
Oh, wow.
that he was going to start a religious radio station.
Okay.
Okay. And so he raised some funds, Lori, and he actually started a radio station. And he said, I want you to help me build the radio station. Harry, when he said, I want you to help me build the radio station, what I thought he meant was be a disc jockey. I want you to run some wire. No, here's what he meant. Here's a shovel. I need you to dig an 8-foot wide, 8-foot wide,
Build.
12-foot
No
deep
way.
hole to put the foundation for the tower in.
Oh, my gosh.
So it was all this physical labor.
Yeah.
But he built it from the ground up. So his station is, well, he's since retired, but my father owned 91.5 and 87.9 FM, WPAE and KPAE, okay?
Oh,
So
wow.
those were two religious stations that are still on the air now, and they play Southern gospel music. Well, when 91.5 came along in 1985, when we got on the air, it was September of 85, I sat down at the microphone, I went white as a ghost, and I said, you're listening to 91.5 KPAE. I was very nervous, right?
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, like me.
But Harry will tell you this, right, Harry?
Yes.
The bug bit. It was like a euphoric drug.
Really?
Like you say you get nervous doing this.
Yeah, I do.
I just
do
get so
I get-
warm and excited. It's like, wow. But the bug bit. And I didn't plan on being a radio broadcaster, but once that happened, it's like, uh-oh. So I think I went to some trade school for some radio stuff. But I worked with my dad for a while, and I love my dad to death, but it was kind of one of those situations, Lori, where I was going to be better off working somewhere other than with my dad.
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
how that goes.
Yes, I do.
So I had a friend who knew someone who worked part-time at WJBO, 1150. This is 1988.
Okay.
So I went over there and I applied and I got a part-time job. And this is before there were automated computers that ran the radio station around the clock. And I had the glorious, Harry, you're going to love this, I had the glorious midnight till 6 shift.
Oh,
The graveyard.
Midnight till 6
How in the
a.m.
world?
And I'm talking Friday night going into Saturday morning and Saturday night going into Sunday morning. But it was
wow.
great because everybody else who had that shift slept on the couch and woke up once an hour to play the legal ID. But I stayed wide awake. And I would also study. I was a studious person, getting my degree in journalism from LSU. But I would do the news. At the bottom of the hour, there was 90 seconds for a newscast, and I couldn't wait to do the news.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Because I was really into it, right?
Well, yeah, no, absolutely.
I never will forget one time I was young and George Sells. Remember George Sells
Do,
from
I do.
WAFB?
Yep.
So this golden-voiced guy calls me. He had the hotline number. The hotline was reserved for VIP people, emergency. Like Harry Exxon had the hotline number if they had to reach us for something.
Yeah.
And George Sells calls me at like 1:33 a.m. and said, I just want you to know that was an excellent newscast you just gave. Your writing skills are tremendous. Keep up the good work. You would have thought I had gotten married or something. I was so happy. But it's things like that come along that make
Well,
you so
yeah,
happy.
absolutely.
And then that turned into a full-time job there. And then it turned into doing the morning show with Kevin Meeks. And when it was all said and done, I worked at WJBO 22 years. 14 of those, I did the morning show with Kevin. God rest his soul. He's passed on. But went there in 1988 and stayed there until 2011.
Well, I know Dad listened to you, right, Dad? On
Yep,
your way to
morning
work.
drive. I would listen to
Yeah.
it faithfully.
And what were you saying? Some of the questions you had for him for some of the things they would do. Now, I have one question.
Yes,
Who
please.
was your craziest did you did interviews or guests? Or
Oh, yeah,
anything?
all the time.
Okay, so who was like the craziest person? Or can you say that?
The craziest person I ever interviewed?
Yeah, like a wild interview, like something crazy.
Oh, you'll love this.
I
Okay?
Can you? Just don't get.
Oh, you should not start me down this path. No, I can tell this story.
Okay.
Although he's much bigger than me, he might beat me up.
Oh no.
No, this is a great story. So, when Katrina happened, I'll tell you two stories.
Okay.
This one's a serious one, then I'll tell you the cool one.
Okay.
So the serious one is, it's 10 o'clock at night, and it's the week after Katrina, or 2 weeks after Katrina hit. We had been on the air, as you know, nonstop.
Yeah, that was
WWL from New
Yeah.
Orleans was in our building. It was crazy and chaotic.
It was crazy. Yeah.
But it's almost 10 o'clock at night, and my cell phone rings, and it's my boss from the radio station, from WJBO, and he says, "Hey, I have a phone number for you, 202, whatever." He gives me the number, right? And so I reach out, and he says, "By the way, you're calling the White House switchboard, ask for XYZ. They want you to be the pool reporter when President Bush comes to Baton Rouge tomorrow."
Oh wow.
Now, for those who don't know, pool reporter, all that means is, instead of having, 14 people there as radio broadcasters, they have one person, and then you bring the cassette tape or the recording, whatever, back to the studio, you pull the sound bites, and then you upload them to like ABC and NBC and CBS radio, and then they distribute them, okay?
Okay.
Do you want to do it? I said, nah, it's just the president. I don't want to do that. So, of course, I said
Of course,
yes.
yeah.
So I called this number,
Oh my gosh.
and the lady says, "We need to gather some information." Harry, you'll love this, buddy. Social Security, date of birth, a few other questions. Okay, we'll call you back with clearance in about 10 minutes.
Oh.
10 minutes later, okay, you have your clearance. Meet on the tarmac at 7:15, Baton Rouge Metro Airport tomorrow morning. I looked at my wife, Alyssa. I said, "What do you think they knew about me, and found out about me in that 10 minutes?"
Everything.
Probably every girlfriend I've ever had, every chick I ever bounced, every
Everything.
bar tab I skipped out on. I never did it. I'm just kidding. But think about it. It was so
No,
cool.
yeah,
So I
that
go out there
is.
that morning, and this is obviously, a couple of weeks after Katrina. So we get on the tarmac, we're waiting, and these huge German shepherds come out, and I'm there with one TV reporter and one newspaper reporter. And so the German shepherd has to sniff all of my equipment, Harry,
Oh my gosh.
checking for bombs and
Yep.
things
Oh
like that.
and
yeah.
drugs, yes.
I
So
mean, yeah.
then we walk out on the tarmac.
I don't even think about
And
all
then
that.
these 3 black SUVs, may have been 5 of them, come flying around the corner of the building, and they pull up on the tarmac. And a few minutes later, here comes this beautiful 747, and it lands.
Oh wow.
And they said, "Follow." And this Secret Service agent had walked over, and he said, "Okay, follow me. We're going to stand under the wing of the aircraft." Photo op, right?
Okay.
So while we're walking out there, he says, just a couple of quick instructions. Do not exceed my pace of walking. Don't get out in front of me, and don't veer left and right, and he points up to the water tower, and there's a sniper laying on the water tower up there, and there's another one on the edge of the airport, and he says, just don't make any sudden movements, especially when you're close to the president. I'm thinking, well, dadgummit,
Oh
I'm
my
ADD.
God.
How am I not going to make sudden movements?
No.
Put my hands in my pocket, right?
No, I know. Gosh.
So we go out there. Here comes the president. He walks down. And first thing that strikes me is, man, he's not much taller than me. And he really wasn't. I mean, I'm 5'5.5". He
Really?
may have been 5'8". And he's not tall. You think
Yeah.
the president,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But so nice. And before the cameras are rolling,
Mm-hmm.
sticks his hands out and says, "President Bush, good to meet you." And he asked your name, which was so nice. I guess
Yeah.
because it was a small group.
Yeah.
He makes a few comments. And I think Congressman Baker may have been with him, but whatever.
Huh.
And then the Secret Service says, okay, follow me. We're going to get in the vehicle. We're going to the Joint Command Center, and Governor Blanco was there.
Oh, wow.
So we get into this black SUV. So Bush is in this black SUV in front of us. I get into this black SUV. These guys peel out, and before I know it, we're up on the I-110 doing 100 miles an hour.
Are you freaking out?
And I asked the driver, I said, should I talk? They may shoot me.
No, they might.
I said, just a quick question. So why are we going so fast? Because there's cops everywhere. Every exit is blocked. Every exit, every
gosh.
entrance ramp to 110 is blocked. Now, it's Sunday morning, so it helps anyway.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He says the less time we're up here, the less danger it is to the president. So after we drive like a bat out of hell, and we get down, we go into the Joint Command Center, and he gives us a few more comments. Then he goes in and meets with Governor Blanco, and that's it. But Harry, it was the most amazing thing to watch the military precision with which they move. It's mind-boggling.
That's amazing.
They're just watching everything. But that was a cool. And then I went back to the radio station, pulled out 4 or 5 sound bites, and sent them up. But that was my chance to meet President Bush.
That is so amazing.
And he was genuinely a caring and kind man.
You were impressed
You could
with
just,
him.
you could just tell he wasn't some aloof, I'm the president.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like, it was almost like, we're going to stop at Subway on the way out if that's cool. He would have been fine with that. That was a cool news moment.
No, that's amazing that you got to do that. That is so cool.
But my actual favorite interview, okay, it wasn't wild or anything. Ed Buggs interviewed Monica Lewinsky. I didn't do that. Thank goodness. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But she told him before the interview, you can't say anything. You can't ask any questions about the thing that happened. I'm like, well, then why are we interviewing you? Anyway.
Wow, you're so funny.
So anyway, WJBO studios now are off of College and Corporate in the iHeartMedia building. We used to be downtown. For years, we were on Florida Boulevard where the City National Bank, it's not City National anymore, it's Chase Bank, where the City Club is, you know.
Yeah. I know exactly.
If you're rich enough to know what the City Club is.
Well,
you know.
I've been there for a
I
long
heard
time.
yes.
Not me, but I've been invited.
Probably some of Catherine's friends too.
Probably so. Probably some of their friends.
So George Jenney at the time owned WJBO. He calls the studio. He goes, hey, Don King and Mike Tyson are next door. And they're at the Camelot Club.
Oh my
if you want to grab
gosh.
your tape recorder, you might can go over there and get a quick interview.
No way.
Yes. And
Oh my
if you ask me
gosh.
the year, I'll forget. But do you remember the fight, Harry, where Holyfield and Tyson fought and Tyson bit Holyfield's
Yeah, the
ear?
ear. The ear
Yes,
thing.
I remember
This
that.
this was right before that.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
So I grabbed my tape recorder, eager young reporter. And I go across
that's so exciting.
All I did was cross the street.
Yeah.
It was right across the street.
Yeah.
I go into the bottom tower and I push the elevator to get on the elevator just to get, I think it's on the 24th floor, and the doors open at the bottom. And in the elevator are 2 extremely large men, one short, barely taller than me, incredibly thick-armed Mike Tyson, and this dude with tall hair, Don King, right? And I've got my tape recorder and I've got my microphone and it's got what we
Tape
call
recorder.
the flag on it. Yeah, back in the olden days. But it's got the microphone flag, which has WJBO. So they know I'm not some weirdo off the street.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can see it's a microphone. It's a radio or TV station emblem. And I said, hey, Mike, can I ask you a couple of questions? And I'm stepping toward the elevator. And one of his bodyguards takes his fist and just pushes me back. Okay? I mean, he doesn't know, right? And Tyson looks out the elevator, looks left, look right, goes, he's okay. Come on in.
Oh, no way.
Exactly like that. He's okay. Come on in. He's a short little white guy. What can he do to me, right? He's okay.
That is so
So
funny.
I step in the elevator and they push the up button. Tyson puts his arm around me. I swear to God, his
Were you
arm.
scared to death?
Nah. But his arm must have weighed 50 pounds. It was about this big around, rock solid muscle. But,
Really?
But I'm 5'5.5". I bet you he wasn't. He was listed as 5'9". No,
He's not
way.
very
There's
tall.
no way.
Maybe 5'7".
Yeah.
Really?
Solid as a rock. And so I said, so you have a fight coming up with Holyfield. How do you feel? He gave me a couple of words. I mean, a 24-floor elevator ride doesn't take long.
No.
I asked Don King a quick question. I said, thank you very much. The door is open. And he goes, good job. It didn't last more than 2 minutes, but it was like, I just interviewed Mike Tyson.
That is the coolest thing.
It was so neat.
That is so
but it's
cool.
the fact that the bodyguard was about to beat me down. He's okay. Come on. Yeah, everybody laughed.
That is
What the boss
hilarious.
says.
I love that
And I
story.
see him in movies and stuff, and I'm like, I wonder if he remembers that little short guy that tried to interview him in Baton Rouge.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So, Dad, what's one of the I know you had what was it the Friday night? I mean, the Friday free
Speech Friday
or
thing?
whatever
It was
it was.
nuts,
What
wasn't
was
it?
Oh, it was weird. It was entertaining, but I didn't know the clientele that was calling in. So, but
We
there
didn't
was,
either.
there was somebody that called in all the time and said somebody needs to wake up some
Willie
sheriff
Graves.
or something like that.
And tell him who murdered the baby, Matthew Populus. It was an ongoing criminal investigation
Yeah.
for years
Really?
in Livingston Parish. All right, so full confessional. Free Speech Friday, I actually stole that.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Meeks and I did, from a guy that did a radio show in New York, and he used to have this segment, and he would call it Radio Graffiti.
Oh,
Well, I didn't want to rip his name
yeah.
off, okay? And so we actually just came up with the idea of Free Speech Friday. David Tyree worked with us for a while, and David Tyree would actually do it from Free Speech Alley at LSU. Were you working out there then, Harry?
I was
You
a
might have
student in the vintage age of Free Speech Alley, and it was fabulous. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Woody Jenkins and
crazy.
who's that guy from Metairie who was KKK?
been. Oh, David Duke.
David Duke.
Yeah.
They would have it out there on
All the
Friday.
time.
Yeah.
And everybody told you were going to hell or going to heaven or become Buddhist. It didn't matter. In Free Speech Alley.
Right.
So Kevin and I came up with Free Speech Friday because of Free Speech Alley, right?
Uh-huh.
So it was real simple. You get one sentence and one sentence only. Don't curse, because we have an 8-second delay, and
Yeah, yeah.
So don't curse, don't be too ugly, and don't be vulgar, right? The show is PG-13 at this point.
Yeah.
Unless you had a song, and if you had a song, you could go more than one sentence.
Really?
I don't think I've ever said this before. It was the highest rated hour of the week that we had. I don't care if I interviewed Monica Lewinsky or Mike Tyson or President
Really?
Bush. It was amazing.
Isn't
It
that
was
funny?
one of the highest rated hours in radio, period, in Baton Rouge at the time.
That's I mean,
Not just talk radio. People told me, I don't listen to you that much, but I listen to the thing on Friday. That's really cool.
that's their favorite thing.
It was crazy. And we
Yeah.
had the regulars who would call and say the same thing.
Really?
We had a guy call one time who thought it was funny because Kevin and I were talking about, hey, we're going to be riding in the Christmas parade or something in the WJBO van. And this guy thought it was funny to call and say, I'll be out there with my gun. Don't bring your kids and wife.
Ooh.
To you?
Of course. So I called the sheriff's department and I said, I'm still bringing my kids and my wife, but there'll be a cop car behind us. I wasn't going to kowtow to
Really?
that. But he thought that was a joke. And he called back off the air. Oh, I'm really sorry, man. I was just
Really?
joking. I said, you don't joke about things like that.
Crazy.
No.
You know?
Oh God, poor Alyssa, huh?
Nah, she toughed it up. She toughed it up.
I know.
But it was
gosh.
one sentence only. But let's see if Dad remembers this. Harry, do you remember the guy? Oh, I can't remember his name. But he wrote a poem to the tune of The Wreck of the Edmunds Fitzgerald, but he called it The Wreck of the Whiskey Bay Trucker. And he wrote this whole song about an 18-wheeler going off the edge.
No way.
Yeah,
No. Was that Chris Daniels?
that was Chris Daniels. How did you remember that?
Yeah.
And,
Daddy
and he called. He goes, "I'm not going to sing it. You and Kevin sing it." So we did, and it was
Really?
crazy. Yeah.
So, Dad, what are some? I know you had a few questions for him.
Well,
I know you
I'm interested in this what's happening to radio now versus, well, even this event that's going on right here where we're live streaming
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to turn it into a podcast tomorrow. And I know when I take my drive anywhere by myself, I don't typically have the radio on. I
Yeah.
typically have a podcast playing.
I think it's safe to say there were two golden eras of radio.
Mhm.
Others may disagree. It's my opinion. Right?
Yeah.
When radio first came out, it was the thing. It was the only thing.
Yes.
And in my living room sits a radio that my great-grandfather gave to my grandfather, that gave to my dad, that gave to me. And my dad to this day will say, when I was really little, I remember my grandfather listening to the fireside chats from Franklin Roosevelt on that.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, that was a captive thing. So that was like this golden era of radio. And then, of course, it became the 50s, the 40s, and the 50s. Then TV came along, and radio was still very important, but it took a backstage to television. But the second golden age of radio, I firmly believe, happened when Rush Limbaugh came around.
Okay. When was it? When
did he start, Harry? 88?
Something like that. Late
Yeah,
80s,
WJBO was one of his original, like 50-something nationwide affiliates. One of the first ever. And he absolutely saved AM radio. If Rush Limbaugh had not come along, AM radio would have died in the early 90s. But he saved AM radio, and he gave it this second revitalization. And now what's happened is, you nailed it, podcast, your cell phone. I'm not saying it's replaced radio, and radio stations are doing a good job. Like here in town, both WJBO and Talk 107.3, they both do a good job of saying, okay, we have this content. Now we'll let Harry cut it up into sound bites for us, and we'll put it onto a podcast or put it on YouTube, right? But what's happened is everything used to be, if you want to hear this, you hear it now. Whereas now, it's I want to hear it on my time. I want it to be an on-demand type of thing. And so the radio stations have had to learn, if you interview someone, you can put it into multiplicities of places. Harry, you know who's best about that in Baton Rouge?
Who is?
The sports talk station, ESPN Radio.
Oh, yes, very much so.
They have done, Gordy Rush and those guys have done an amazing job there, because they have a setup. It's not this fancy, though, Harry. But they have a setup where they broadcast on YouTube. They even broadcast on TV, I think.
Right.
But then Matt Moscona interviews someone. Then he goes on what used to be Twitter, right? And he'll post it there. And he posted on Instagram. He posted on. So they live in all these places.
Yeah.
That's the future of the medium.
Yeah, I think they call it repurposing content.
That's it. And they're the best at it I have ever seen of anyone.
Yeah, but aren't you still on the radio?
Only on the weekends.
Only on the weekends.
So that's a natural segue, right?
Yeah.
In 2011, I left WJBO. I parted on great terms there. I just got, I don't know how to describe this except to say it this way. Sometimes you just want to prove that you can do something somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay? And so Gordy Rush knew me, had known me for a long time. He goes, dude, here's the deal. I want to start a talk station. Come help me start it. Give me 2 years. Well, I was already working only part-time at WJBO then. I was no longer the program director. I had pretty much committed to being full-time with Christy Smith, the founder, and my sister from another mister at Presley Wealth Management. So I was working there full-time, but I was just doing the morning show at WJBO because I had made a commitment through that time period. And I was going to leave and go full-time and get out of radio in 2011. And Gordy said, look, give me 2 years. So we started Talk 107.3. It was a blast. We went from, when we turned the station on, the first ratings book, we were 17th. When I left, we were the top 4 station in the city.
Oh, wow.
And that just made me feel great. So we quickly built a huge following.
Yeah.
But in 2013, I said, I can't keep doing 2 jobs because it was exhausting to wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
I can't.
Somebody said, what's the best part of not working in the morning? I can see an entire Monday night football game. That's great. But I will tell you, working all those years at WJBO, Harry, you'll love this.
What time did you have to be at work when you worked
there?
So
we went on the air at 5:30. I typically got there at 5, so I got up around 4.
Oh, wow.
But I was always typically, except hurricane coverage, 9/11, all that, I was typically home by 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I could always pick my kids up from school. I was there for dinner every night. That was great, you know?
Yeah, that is a good thing.
Different hours.
Yeah, but tell us about, like, I know Katrina. Like, what did y'all get to do during that? Because that's so interesting, you know? Because our family's from New Orleans. And I just remember some of my cousins, we went driving down, I think it was in the 9th Ward, because they were at school at Holy Cross at the time. And we went and looked at everything, and we were walking through the school, and everything had just gotten flooded, and some I think it was like some army people with like machine guns. They were like, y'all got to get out of here.
It was bad.
Like, yeah, it was bad. So we had to leave. And this was like, it was during Thanksgiving. We had gotten in one of, I think my aunt's van or something. And then my cousins took us down there because we wanted to see what, kind of what happened. And it was terrible. So what was some of the stuff that I'm sure you saw, like,
but you know what's weird?
a ton of stuff.
I did, but it was after the fact. As a matter of fact, we were on the air so long that I don't remember any television images. We didn't have a TV in the studio because we were running on generator power, and we had this massive generator, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we had bodies stacked on top of bodies there. Because what happened was Clear Channel, who owned, now it's iHeartMedia, we had radio stations in New Orleans. Well, they got flooded. But also our competitor at WWL, and they were owned by Intercom Media at the time, they flooded. They couldn't stay in their studios. Now their transmitter was on the air, at least WWL's was. So our leadership at Clear Channel said, we're not competition anymore. We're out to save lives, right?
100%. Yeah.
So get up here and we'll make room for you. So in one day, Harry, this is amazing. In one day, the engineers turned 2 production studios into live broadcast studios.
Oh, wow.
Basically got them wired to transmit back to their transmitters. And I never will forget that when Katrina was hitting New Orleans, they could not get up here this fast, but we could broadcast to them. And so they just put me and Kevin Meeks on for like 12 hours on WWL.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, I think Kevin and I did something like 26 straight hours.
Well, you had to.
You couldn't drag us out of the chair. Even if you had said, you sound tired, you need to leave. I looked down and there were like 2 tuna fish cans and like 6 bottles of water. I'm serious. But in the moment, you don't. People say, do you miss being on the radio? Only during hurricane coverage. My wife loves having me home now. But I loved hurricane coverage. It just is. Well, I don't
know, there's something exciting. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't like hurricanes. But
I don't either. I don't like their death and destruction.
No,
but the coverage is.
But the coverage is. I mean, that's why so many people are listening. It's fascinating, right? Because it's
But we
nature.
had no television. But I didn't even know New Orleans very well. You have to understand. My wife grew up in Metairie. Went to Saints games. I know a little bit. But when people said things like the lower 9th Ward or the 17th Street Canal, I didn't know what they were talking about. I knew where the Superdome was, and I knew where Pecan Avenue in Metairie was because my wife grew up there.
Yeah.
That's, Mount Carmel. Sorry.
Mount Carmel,
That snooty all girls school. I knew about that.
My cousins went to school.
Where my wife went to school. Were they Pink Panthers?
What were they? What are
you
they?
You do remember now, if you come from New Orleans, we're not interested in which university you attended. We're interested in which high school you went to.
Makes all the difference in
all
the
the
world.
difference.
I know, huh?
Anyway.
I don't know what they were.
I didn't know any of it. All I know is that I'm going to walk this back. We have a second. I'm going to walk this back.
Yeah, sure.
I never will forget going to bed. Katrina hit on a Sunday, didn't it? Or Monday? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
the
a Sunday, Monday thing.
Right. Saturday night, went to bed. Katrina was a Category 3 storm in the Gulf of Mexico. I flipped the television on probably 6 o'clock, 6:30 Sunday morning, and it was a Category 5. It was a monstrous hurricane. And I said to Alyssa, I'm going to the station. She goes, now? I said, yes. I said, this storm is going to crush New Orleans. I remember just seeing that and saying that.
Yeah, you knew it.
Of course, the Weather Channel was saying that too. So I drove to the radio station, and I had called Kevin on the cell phone on the way there. I said, dude, I don't have anybody else to help me, but if you don't mind, we need to get on the air. I said, because I don't think people realize how much this has changed overnight. And while it won't be that bad for us, the number of people coming here will be crushing.
It changed everything after Katrina.
At 8:15 Sunday morning, we went on the air. And I don't know how long we went. And I didn't have a whole lot to say at the beginning, but I never will forget, Lori. Kevin went to the Associated Press wire printer. Harry, I'm dating myself badly.
Wire printers,
Once upon a time, there was actually a printer in the back, a dot matrix printer, made that sound.
Really?
And anytime there were bulletins and stuff, it would just automatically print. So you'd walk to the back, you'd rip it off, and you'd come back in. And when it was breaking news, we joked and called it rip and read. So Kevin ripped it off and came in and he said, I cannot believe what I'm reading. He goes, I'm going to read this to you. This is directly from the National Weather Service. And it was like, there will be significant, there will be significant loss of life. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was so sobering.
And this is like probably about chills.
This is probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon when all this was, because we started broadcasting at 8. The city woke up and realized, and Mayor Nagin, how bad things were.
Mm-hmm.
And I never will forget, at dark 30 at 8 o'clock at night, Kevin and I are still up there broadcasting, looking out the studio window right over I-10, and the cars were moving 1 inch an hour because of the evacuation.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I drove home. We live in Prairieville, and it was late, and I pulled into the Exxon at the corner of Highland and Old Perkins to get some gas. Didn't get gas there because everyone else was, and there were people just sitting there camping. And the guy says, we were a mile down the road 6 hours ago. It was a mess. And I thought to myself, my God. So the next morning, I was able to get back. But I think I went to I may have gone to the old bridge or something. I don't know. I made my way back to work. But
I don't know how you did that either. Yeah.
I didn't actually see images on television until the next day after it hit. Real quick, though. Originally, everyone who was in the studio from WWL, when the storm came, remember it turned to the east.
Yeah.
And they all thought we're good.
Yeah, we all thought everybody, it's just going to be, it's not going to be a big deal.
It wasn't nearly as bad as we thought.
Yeah, no.
But I never will forget when, I'm going to go blank. Why am I blanking on his name? Garland Robinette. That wasn't Garland Robinette. Was it? Who? The talk show host at WWL. I'm going blank on his name. I'm so sorry.
No,
maybe it was Garland Robinette.
It sounds familiar.
I think that was. When I was in the room and it was a commercial break and the news director walked in because we were in a commercial break. The news director said, oh my God, the 17th Street Canal just broke. That meant nothing to me. I didn't know what the 17th Street Canal was. And I looked at Garland and I said, where's that? He goes, that's going to flood half the city.
Yeah.
And I could see the terror on their face because they were from there. They knew that the worst was yet to come. So it was funny. The storm passed. We felt euphoric that we were okay. And then boom, it just all fell apart.
Yeah, and all the horror stories.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. That was just, gosh. I just remember
You talk about chills. So we were
about all that.
Most of their stations in New Orleans got knocked off the air, but we were simulcasting on WFMF 102.5.
Okay.
And we were taking calls from listeners. What are you seeing? Lori, I got chill bumps when a lady called, said her address, and she was in New Orleans, but because there were so few stations on the air, she could pick up WFMF. And she gave their address, meant nothing to me. And she says, I'm in the attic. I've got 4 kids and the water's coming up fast. Please, God, get somebody to us. And so somebody in the newsroom called the state police. And they called the police, and the police said, we already heard, we're listening, we're going. They were listening to us to hear where people were calling from.
God, y'all were on the air.
It was incredible.
Thank God.
And you felt horrible, but at the same time, you felt like...
Yeah, but you were helping
I'm helping people.
You are. No,
right.
It was crucial.
Yep.
Crucial that y'all were on. You had, that was a... No, I had one of my friends, her husband was a doctor, and I remember he went down there during all that to help. It was just... The amount of craziness that everybody had a job to do back then. It was crazy.
My wife and I went down there about 2 months later, and I just couldn't believe
what I was seeing. Kind of how we did.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me. The scale. And then, of course, Gustav and Isaac, those were bad for us here, but not to the scale of that.
So sad. Such destruction.
Yeah.
Well, so I talked to your wife.
Oh, dear Lord. This could be bad.
And I talked to your other wife, Catherine.
Oh, Lord, both wives.
I'm teasing. No. So I hear, you can play several instruments. You're multi-talented, right?
So I can play the piano.
Uh-huh.
I used to play the saxophone. I'm trying to learn it again. I can play the drums, but I can barely dance. It breaks Alyssa's heart.
Well,
but we took dance lessons.
I hear you're taking dance lessons.
Getting better. It's the least I could do.
Dad kind of sounds like you. Dad plays a lot of instruments.
I can't dance.
But Dad cannot dance.
Wait now. Let's get this straight. 4 margaritas and I can dance.
No.
Yeah.
No. 4 margaritas. No, it's very awkward. It's embarrassing.
More than 2 and you're in trouble.
No.
Yeah, right.
And then also here you have 2 special babies, your little puppies.
Oh, you didn't meet my kids?
Oh, we know your puppies.
Oh my gosh. I do have the world's greatest dog.
I know. So
Really.
they were saying what Momo is that?
So Mia is a border collie.
Okay.
Mia's 9. You ever owned a border collie, Harry?
Yes, we did.
We did.
A mix, you know.
Yeah.
They're so
Very
smart.
bright dogs.
And they're ADD and hyperactive like me.
Yes.
Actually, they're
And very
hyperactive,
bright.
but they're incredibly bright.
Very bright.
So she's 9, slowed down a lot, but she's the love of my life. And then Penny is our, oh my gosh,
Heard it's
Penny.
her birthday today.
Penny is 5 years old today. Penny's a little bad Yorkie, spoiled rotten. Oh, I also have a son and daughter, if that matters.
Yeah, I know that. And look, I don't know your son, but I love your daughter.
Yeah, she's
So
doing great.
she's
Getting married
yes.
in April. My son's 29. He's not getting married tomorrow, but
And we showed her invitation on my last show.
oh,
Yeah.
nice.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
We're very
did.
blessed, though. And my wife and I just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
We took off and went to Biltmore for a few days.
So that's okay. So y'all
It's
went.
incredible.
I've been there.
It's a great place to go broke
Did you
fast.
see the dog herding the sheep?
No,
You'd miss that?
I missed it.
Oh my gosh, it was a border collie. That's what they have sheep. You can go.
I saw the sheep. I didn't see the border collie.
They have a little thing where they show the border collie. Like, when we went there, they did that and they were like herding the sheep. It was so cool to watch.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Missed that part. It's a beautiful place, but
yes.
bring 2 wallets.
Oh, yeah.
Harry, I'm not kidding. Holy cow.
I don't hold the wallet.
Would you like an old fashioned? That'll be $29.
Oh, I know. It's everything.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. But it was one of the best old fashions I've ever had.
Yeah. And so right now, I also hear that you're kind of a runner for Paperwhite.
Oh, yes. I am the Uber driver for Paperwhite.
I hear that's what you're doing too.
I just do what I do what
You
keeps
do whatever they say, huh?
I do what keeps them happy. I'm so proud of them, though. They've done such an amazing job.
Oh, I know.
Really.
I know. They both deserve all the success in the world.
And they're doing great.
They are, and I just love both of them to death. And thank you for being here today.
This is fun.
This has been great.
You were worried we wouldn't have enough to talk about.
I was very intimidated
give me a
because
break.
you've had such an amazing career. But Alyssa said I would be fine, and I was. And
it's fun.
Dad, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was going to ask Matt if he had any advice for a fledgling radio thingy, whatever we're doing here.
No, you're kicking butt and taking names. This is amazing. It's phenomenal. I even like what brand microphone is this? I love it.
They're both Sennheisers.
I should have guessed.
Yeah.
Well, you have to come back.
German
though.
microphones. I'll come back.
Yeah, you have to come back. We had to get Alyssa on. She didn't come last time. I know.
Time out.
I know. She's not.
I do all the talking in the family. She's very microphone shy.
Well, she talks a lot when I see her.
Although, can I tell you just one quick story about
Sure.
Alyssa?
Yes.
So, when I worked at WJBO, also in our building were several other stations, including WFMF. This was years ago, but the morning show guys on WFMF came and tapped on the glass at my studio, say, come over here when you have a commercial break. So I had a commercial break and ran to their studio right across the hall, and they said, hey, we're going to get Kenny G on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And
Kenny G.
Yeah, Kenny G. And we need to play this game where we ask Kenny G questions that only a woman should know, and we ask the woman questions that only. Can your wife talk to us? Because we just need somebody real quick. I'm like, I don't know, so I'll call her. I said, Alyssa, they want you to go on WFMF with Kenny G. She went, okay. So ask her about that. She got to play some radio trivia game, her and Kenny G.
No way.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
How crazy is that?
I'm so blessed. I've met so many cool people.
You have. You have had such a journey.
Yeah.
So nice.
President Bush, Mike Tyson. Who else have I hung out with? Shaq. We knew Shaq.
But you didn't get to hang out with Kenny G.
Did not get to hang out with. And I've yet to meet Barry Manilow, and that's probably the most crushing moment of my life.
That's important. That's
I can play
on the
you
bucket
any
list
song.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is a blast. Thank y'all for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
Harry, keep up the good work. I may employ your skills editing our radio shows.
Well, get them before they evaporate. I'm getting older by the day.
Nah, you're just getting ripe. It's all good.
Thank you so much, Matt.
God bless you. Thank you both.
Thank
It's
you.
been such
Good
a
night.
pleasure.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
You too.
Bye-bye.